Well, hello and a very warm welcome to another episode of The Sweet Spot here on the Racing Post, brought to you in association with AK Bets, your place to come for golf betting advice. Now, a new face joins us, a familiar face, not the usual Steve Palmer, instead, James Mason. James, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I think we've crossed paths a few times before on the old Greyhound TV, didn't we? When you used to come on and do a few halfway selections or tipping bets for you.
And you've still got a bit of the Andy Murrays about you, so I'll forever will call you Mace the Ace.
I keep getting this a lot. I don't quite see it, but apparently you do, Dave. So we'll stick with it. I've had worse comparisons, so it's all right.
Good stuff, all good. Do of course remember to like, comment and subscribe. Thanks for your plenty of comments last week, and plenty of you followed Steve in with Handy Blandy, Richard Bland doing the business as well. But we'll get on to that. Where is Steve? Of course, my intrepid tipster is out sunning himself, as you can see here, in his MVG get-up as well. So a well-earned break for Steve, and he'll be back very soon. Right, James, how's your form?
Not too bad, actually. I have to say, I tried to catch as much of the golf as I could last weekend, but it was a busy one. I had one of my best mates' weddings, so I was best man for him on Sunday. So that was obviously quite a long day. But no, it was very good. Managed to catch, like I said, bits of the golf and some of the highlights, and yeah, I think I'm raring to go, ready for this week's events.
Good man. How did the speech go down?
I think it went well. I mean, no one's going to say it was terrible, but it was. I think it got up to about 13 odd minutes long. But I had a slideshow projector, all the bits going on. So it was very, very good. I found myself very nervous about 10 minutes before I was due to do it. I was absolutely fine throughout the whole day leading up to it, and then 10 minutes before I thought, oh dear, imagine if this goes wrong. But thankfully it didn't. So yeah, it was good.
Good stuff. Presentation and everything. Next time you're on, James, we'll maybe ask a bit more of you and perhaps show your workings out on how you get into all these selections with models and all sorts going on. Anyway, right, we're of course brought to you in association with AK Bets, and a great concession for you right here. They are of course our sponsor. Place your first bet on a golf tournament market and you'll get 50% of your stake back as a free bet up to £50. If your player misses the cut. Terms and conditions, of course, apply. And do remember to use the code SweetSpot50 when signing up. So there you go. If your player misses the cut, you get 50% as your stake back as a free bet. So if you've not got an AK Bets account, there you go. Get stuck into the golf. And of course, do remember to gamble responsibly. Right, James, of course, tragic news out of Fort Worth last week. There was a little bit more than a golf tournament going on. The very sad and tragic passing of Grayson Murray, which rightly was a big story last week.
It was. It just came such out of the blue, really. The fact that he played the first round, he withdrew after 16 holes of the second round, citing illness. And then obviously the news broke on Saturday, just terrible, really. And then you think, what on earth's gone on? And obviously his family have released a statement of what happened. He'd spoken when he won in January. He'd spoken after the sort of 6 years he'd had where he was battling issues of sort of off the course, and just a really, really sad moment in golf. And it was a nice sort of touching tribute where the players were wearing, it was red and white armbands, I think it was, on the Sunday on the final round, and that was because of Grayson Murray's love for one of his home states or his home club. So yeah, certainly there was more going on than golf, but yeah, our thoughts are with his family and all his friends.
Absolutely. 30 years old, world number 61. As James said, he withdrew second round. Twice a win on the PGA Tour, 2017 Barbasol Championship and this year's Sony Open as well. So thoughts with his family and loved ones, Grayson Murray. Right, there was a golf tournament on last week, James, at Fort Worth, and it was won by Davis Riley. Now, we went into the final round and it was looking like it was going to be a case of catch me if you can, but the cat was a certain Scotty Scheffler, but it never really materialised, did it?
It didn't. Davis Riley performed really, really well. It was just a shock that Steve usually has Davis Riley in the pocket. He usually puts him up most weeks, and I think he's been saying for quite a while that Davis Riley will win an individual event. He had one earlier on, of course. That was the pairs event at the Zurich Classic. That was last year, I think it was. But yeah, this is the first individual tournament win for him, and it was very composed. When you've got those type of players chasing behind you, Scheffler, Morikawa, Keegan Bradley, he did so well to hold them off and just hold us nerve over that last round. 5-shot victory. Yeah, certainly the future looks very, very bright for Davis Riley.
Yeah, the course played incredibly tough, didn't it? Obviously, Scheffler didn't get off to a great start, but I think the afternoon groups, the course was playing about 3 over par, which is kind of what it should have been last week. I think -21 the winning score. This week, very tough.
Yeah, this week very tough, but you like to see that. You want to see the players tested. You want to see them have to have an array of shots and have to hold sort of 8-10 footers for par and try and sort of work the way around it. A lot of course management, but yeah, Davis Riley was the one to beat, and nobody could. Yeah, I think you've got to give credit to Scheffler again, though. It's been a really strange few weeks for Scheffler with what happened at the major. And then sort of had a triple bogey, I think he had on his first round. And he's managed to get himself back up into a tie for second once again. The mental strength, I think, of the world number one is absolutely sensational. And, as long as he wants to be up there, I think he will still remain the person to beat going into tournaments. But like we said, got to give huge credit to Riley. I think Morikawa, good to see him again putting in another consistent performance, because he was the man of the moment a few years ago when he won a couple of majors, went off the boil, but he's got himself back into some really good form at the moment. So definitely Morikawa, I think, is somebody to watch ahead of the majors coming up.
Yeah, the only other player in the field outside of the winner to shoot 4 rounds in the 60s there, Morikawa. Do you like golf like that, James? I mean, Steve rightly flagged up that accuracy is the name of the game, and anyone who was in the rough, the greens were hard, and coming out the rough, it was almost impossible to hold it on the green. Do you like it like that, or do you prefer -21 winning scores?
No, I like it when it's tougher. I don't really like the sort of bombs away off the tee, sort of the target golf when players can blast it, but they can go way off course, but they know because either the rough will be cut short or they'll be in an open area that they can recover easily. I like it when they have to hit fairways and they've got to have their accuracy at a premium and obviously hold some putts. But certainly I'd rather watch tough golf like that than see somebody shooting 20, 21 under, because I think just for someone that plays as well, it's nice to see when the pros do struggle a little bit and they fail to get around some of the holes. Right,
let's move on then, shall we? Because the Soudal Open was on as well, and it's won by Nacho Elvira. And this was, I suppose there was a slightly hairy moment out the rough on 18, but it was pretty straightforward. They were queuing up in behind, but job done.
Yeah, job done, and credit to him. With second victory on the DP World Tour, first since 2021. The Kazoo Open was the sort of the breakthrough that he had. And like he said, he held his nerve. It was a level par round for him, 71 on the last day, and you had some big hitters: Thomas Pieters, Nicholas Norgard. That's a good performance from him. He is an absolute brute off the tee. He can hit it a long way. Certainly someone to keep an eye on. And Roman Langaskian, DP World Tour regular, he managed to put in a good performance also. But yeah, Elvira, like you said, a few little hairy moments, but he parred his way in. I think it was from the 11th hole in, so just managed to do enough to hold on to that 1-shot victory.
And his 2-iron cracked in his warm-up as well, which is not ideal, which is a club I think he uses a lot. So far from straightforward at the start.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I've ever used a 2-iron in my life.
Try, yeah.
I find it hard enough to hit a 4-iron, and that's gone out of my bag now. So yeah, 2-iron, not the greatest, but I think it just shows the quality of the players they are out there, that they can get over something like that and they can just concentrate on the job at hand. And yeah, Elvira, very impressive from him. One of several Spaniards who I think everybody know, and they see them in the field, but they're not quite sure what sort of a player he's like. But 2 wins on the DP World Tour, you can't really argue with that.
Absolutely. And a mention as well for Joe Dean as well. I don't know if you saw him crop up late on there, James. 464th in the world. And I saw an interview in which it was earlier on this year, he'd given up his job as delivery driver, and rightly so.
Yeah, rightly so. It was fantastic. I remember that story. It was Morrison's delivery driver, I think he was, but he finished, I think he had a tied second finish earlier on in the season, and obviously he's opened doors for him now with a bit more money that he's got. But yeah, crept up into a tie for fifth alongside Matthew Jordan as well. Got to give credit to Matthew Jordan. So he's playing some good stuff at the moment, consistent golf. It's good. There's a good few Englishmen that are coming through, but you know, people complain sometimes that the DP World Tour, the quality's maybe getting filtered down because everyone wants to get to the PGA. But, you know, if the DP World Tour is a stepping stone to get to the PGA Tour, then so be it. I think all these players that are playing at the moment on the European circuit are enjoying it. But having that sort of carrot dangling of getting to the PGA Tour, that's what you need. And certainly these players, if they manage to get to the US circuit, it'll be a huge achievement.
Okay, right, we'll move on then. And the punters out there, I think always good content if you let them know how those pesky bookmakers are getting on. Of course, AK Bets here as our sponsor reported favourable results, both the PGA and DP events last year. However, our man, Steve Palmer, digged out Handy Blandy, Richard Bland at 8-1. And AK suggested that the punters were taking all sorts of prices all the way down to sixes as well. So one they had to wear last week, but a good winner.
Yeah, a good winner. I mean, Rich, to be fair, Bland's been playing some decent stuff on the Live Golf circuit this season. I have to say, I've not got much love for the Live Golf players. However, I understood Bland's decision to move over there because he was touching on 50 before he went over. He just won on the DP World Tour, but he thought, you know what, I can get this kind of payday over here now. And he didn't go over saying, I'm coming over here to grow the game and do all that. He just basically went over, and you knew that's what he was going over for because he just got this fantastic offer to go over and play. But yeah, winning on your senior major debut, I think he said in his comments that he was wondering, he was going to see if his game stacked up on the senior circuit because he was playing some different stuff on Live, and thankfully it did for him. And it was quite touching as well because he said this victory was for his brother, who is battling two types of cancer, from what I remember. And, you know, it was an emotional sort of post-win interview that he had. But, yeah, Bland definitely deserved it, played very, very well. He's definitely going to be a danger on the senior circuit.
Yeah, for sure. And from our chat last week with Steve, I think we'll just back the 50-year-olds and 50-year-olds blind because they're fresh in. The young men, the youngsters in the field might be the way to go there. Right, this week's action then. Right, we will kick off with the European Open on the DP World Tour. And every week, James, I don't know if you saw last week's show, I'm going to try and bring both interesting and uninteresting facts about where we're off to. Now, we're going to Hamburg, and I hear you ask, how many bridges are there in Hamburg? Well, I can tell you that there are approximately 2,500 bridges in Hamburg, which is quite an impressive number, and is more than Venice, Amsterdam, and London combined. So if you like your bridges, Hamburg is the place to go. Are you a fan of bridges, James?
I mean, I can't say I've been a big bridge fan, to be quite honest there. Having grown up in Northumberland, though, Newcastle's got quite a bridge. But yeah, that's an interesting fact. Maybe people should comment and just say what their favourite bridge is beneath the video as well.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll go down well. Right, we're off to Green Eagle Golf Course. Take it away, James. I know there's 6 par 5s on this course last year, which is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, this is a beast. So it's played on the North Course at Green Eagles. It's known as the Green Monster. It's 7,882 yards, par 73, 7 par 4s, 6 par 5s, like you mentioned there, and 5 par 3s. It's a flat parkland course. It's got wide fairways, but it has water, which comes into play on varying degrees on pretty much every hole bar one. So even though you've got a little bit of leeway off the tee, you've still got to be quite accurate, especially with your approach play. 2017, that was the first time that the Green Eagles staged this tournament. Of course, before the European Open, it was played in England, then it moved to the K Club for a bit, had 2 tournaments in Germany, and then now in Winton at Green Eagle. It's the 7th time that they've held it. Previous winners, Jordan Smith won it first time in 2017, Richard McAvoy, Paul Casey, Marcus Armitage, Cal Samoya, and Tom McKibben won it last year. Of course, everyone went sort of incredible about him because he was at the same Hollywood course that Rory McIlroy was, and I think they were trying to make comparisons between the two players. But looking at the last 3 winners, they've all had a driving accuracy of over 60% for the tournament, and they've all been in the top 10 for strokes gained tee to green. In terms of distance off the tee, it will help to have that extra bit when you look at the yardage, but McKibben and Samoya, they were just shy of 300 yards averaging when they won. Armitage was down at 276. So generally a good bit of power will help, but this is an all-round test and, one that has proven hard in recent years. You look at the 3 winning scores for the last 3 winners, 8 under, 6 under, 9 under. So the players, they're not going to be tearing this up, even though there are 6 par 5s to go at. They are big par 5s. The poor weather forecast as well will add to the challenge. Now, Thursday is looking okay. That's sort of sunny with a few clouds, but there's rain forecast on Friday. There's a chance of thunderstorms on Saturday and then rain again on Sunday. So it'll be interesting to see how the players sort of deal if there's any interruptions to play. 156 in the field for this one.
Okay, right. And interesting, you mentioned some of the previous winners. 5 of the last 6 winners have all been Englishmen as well, which is an interesting fact as well. Right, let's get the prices in then, shall we, with AK Bet. So I noticed you mentioned Jordan Smith, who's favourite with a lot of the firms. Top price with AK Bet, so 22 to 1, joint top price there. Rasmus Højgaard is the 20 to 1 favourite. Jordan Smith at 22s. Tom McKibben, as James mentioned, went last year's winner. Richard Mansell and Bernd Wiesberger as well among them. How many in the team this week, James, for this event?
Got 3 selections.
3 selections. Fire away.
And we're going to start with Richard Mansell. You mentioned the English sort of theme there, and I'm sticking with it now. He's been in solid form this season. He's had a couple top 10s. He had 3 top 15s on the DP World Tour. The last outing, that was a tied 13 at the Soudal Open. And to be honest, I didn't think the Soudal Open would really sort of favour Mansell because he's a big driver, can go a little bit off sometimes. But, that performance in Belgium, it came after he qualified for next month's US Open as well. So he's clearly taken the momentum from qualifying for the major, takes it into the Soudal Open. Like I said, did well at a course I didn't think he would do well at. So he seems to be on the up right now. Confidence is high. I mentioned as well that he made a couple of tweaks to his game. He was interviewed during, I think it was the first or second round that I saw, when the fantastic coverage when you see them just interviewing the players after they've hit a tee shot, walking down the fairway. But, he said he made a few tweaks and he was feeling a bit more comfortable with his game, which I think is absolutely fantastic going into this one. He's had 3 efforts at Green Eagle. Now, he missed his cut on his debut, but since then he went 3rd and 29th. So clearly sort of getting used to the nuances of this course and how best to manage it. Mentioned, Mansell is a really, really good driver of the ball. That's one of his biggest assets. And he's actually 27th in accuracy this season. It's 306 yards is his average distance. So again, mentioned before what the last 2 winners have got in terms of their driving distance. It was around 296. He's 10 yards better than them. So that's pretty good. He ranks 3rd in strokes gained tee to green as well. Another big asset going into it. We said before, 7 par 4s, 6 par 5s on the course. He's 4th in par 4 scoring and he's 5th in par 5 scoring this season. So that's the cherry on the top of the Mansell cake for me. And I think a maiden DP World Tour win, it's not far away. And this should really suit him with his extra power that he has.
And breathe, Jane, and breathe. Lots to take in there. Very good case made. So I'm glad you've come in to cover, Steve, because you've already drawn me into that one. Right, we've got 2 more in the team. Who else?
Yeah, I think I'm always used to doing my tips when I did halfway tips. And I was told you've got a minute and a half to get all these tips in and all this information. So I just keep reeling it off.
Just make sure you breathe, James. All right, just make sure you breathe in between. It's all good.
I do that, a little breathe. But second, the middle of the 3 tips, we've gone for Bernd Wiesberger, 30 to 1. You can get him at. Now, the Austrian, he's back on the DP World Tour. That was after a couple of years away with the Live Golf. And while he's yet to return to the winner's circle, there's the feeling when you sort of look at some of his play that he's not far away from landing what would be his 9th title on this circuit. He's a proven winner. Like I said, moving over to Live Golf for a couple of years, it wasn't the right call for him. I think there's a few players who maybe thought that, but, for Wiesberger, he didn't give up his DP World Tour status, so he paid the fine and whatever he had to do, but he's decided to come back now, not on the Live circuit anymore. But Wiesberger, he's unrivaled in strokes gained tee to green and greens in regulation this season, so it shows how well he is playing. He's 14th in driving accuracy, 291 yards in distance average off the tee as well. So that's pretty good. I mentioned the number is fine when you look at the previous winner on what they averaged. And his work around the greens as well has also been top notch. He's 2nd in strokes gained around the green and he's 1st in scrambling and sand save. So if you do miss the greens in this one, you got confidence that Wiesberger will be able to get up and down. The issue for him has been the putter. His stats with the flat stick are pretty poor when I was looking at them. but he was fifth here on course debut in 2019. He ended at 40th the year after. So I think it's a positive for me that he's putted well on these greens before. And there's the hope that, it could reignite his game on the greens, coming back to a course that he has liked. Tee to green, he's absolutely fine. If the putter goes well, I think he'll be hard to beat. Par 5 scoring as well, he's 20th in that, and he's 9th in par 4 scoring. So like Mansell, he ranks very highly in those two departments.
Yeah, that's surely going to be a big stat coming into this par 5 scoring. Right, that's 2 down. James, who else you got for us?
Got the final selection of Joel Gerbach. You can get him at around 90-1, which I think is a tempting price for him. Now, he missed the cut at the Soudal Open last week, but that was his first appearance for a couple of weeks. So I'm happy to just put that down to a bit of rustiness. And he only missed the cut, I think it was by a shot. So it wasn't far off. You look at his play, he's an up-and-comer. He had a tied 13 at the Indian Open, a tied 18th at the ISPS Under Championship, and then he was also tied 3rd at the China Open. Those 3 performances came before that miscut at the Soudal Open, so he's been putting in some really solid displays. He's one of the most accurate off the tee as well. He's 3rd in accuracy. He's averaging around 290 plus yards in distance off the tee. So he gives it a decent knock with the driver. Mentioned a few times the strokes gained tee to green stat. Well, he's 18th in that. He's 27th in greens and regulation. They're just more positives that are being added on. His only outing here, that came back in 2019, where he missed the cut by just a shot, but he's an improved player since then. And I think he's definitely one to watch out for. I'd like to chance him at those kind of odds. I think he's definitely an each-way player. Good
stuff. Right, remind us of your 3.
So we've gone for Richard Mansell, sticking with that English theme that you mentioned ahead of the tournament, Bernd Wiesberger, and then Joel Gerbach.
Good stuff. Right, let's head over to Canada then, shall we, for the Canadian Open. We're in Hamilton, 5th time at this track. Again, long par 3s here, James. What sort of course we're looking at?
Yeah, it's an interesting one in Ontario. So 2019 was the last time that it was held here. That's when Rory McIlroy absolutely blitzed the field by 7 strokes. Before that was 2012. That was when Scott Piercy won. Jim Furyk won it in 2006. Bob Tway in 2003. You then got to go all the way back to 1930 for the next time that it was held here. So we're not looking at that course form, but it's a Parkland course. It underwent, actually, it was an $11.5 million renovation following that 2019 event. It won the Golf Digest Renovation of the Year award for 2023 as well. So there's been a lot that's gone on with it. It was overseen by Martin Herbert, was the renovation. So he's of the UK-based design of the firm of Mackenzie and Herbert. So all the greens were rebuilt. He's also created a number of deep bunkers as well, because it's not a particularly long course. It's a par 70, and it plays, well, this week it's going to be playing at just over 7,000 yards. It's going to be playing 117 yards longer than it did in 2019, but still, that's not a long course when you obviously mentioned the DP World Tour and where that is this week. That's 8,000 yards more than this. So it's not one really where the big bombers are going to be having the advantage here. It's taking place over a composite layout as well. So it comprises the west and the south courses. The greens are smaller than what are usually seen on the PGA Tour as well. So that's one of the defenses. And with these deep bunkers that they put in around the greens as well, they tried to make it harder where they can tuck pins away. Tree line fairways, undulating surfaces. I think it's all about solid approach play this week and a hot putter. Weather forecast, you've got a mix of sun, cloud over the 4 days, but generally it looks really good. No rain is due to come. 156 in the field once again.
Good stuff. James has done his homework there for us, which is marvellous. Right, you mentioned 2019, Rory McIlroy absolutely tearing the field apart. He is our favourite with AK Bets. And if you want to get involved with McIlroy, then it might be AK Bets the place for you. Joint top price at 4-1. A lot of the other firms running for cover here, but if there's any love for Rory, make yourself over to AK Bets. The rest of the field then, Tommy Fleetwood way back at 18-1. DeGala at 22s, Alex Noren 25, Corey Connors at 25, Shane Lowry at 25 as well. This is just a question of, are you with Rory or not? I think, James, with such a short price favourite, given his fours, and second in is 18. Where are you off to?
Well, I'm sticking away from Rory McIlroy for this one, actually. Although, obviously, his course form and the form he's in at the moment, I just don't like backing a player at that short a price. I think when you've got 155 other players going up against you, I think there's always the chance that you could have an off day, and I think McIlroy can do that sometimes. Sometimes he's a little bit streaky on the greens, but yeah, I'm staying away from him. I've got 3 selections for this one, and it's actually one of McIlroy's big mates that I've put for the headline one, and that's Shane Lowry. Now, he was back in the winner's circle recently. He partnered Rory McIlroy to the Zurich Classic glory recently. His last outing as well for Lowry, that was a tied 6th at the USPGA Championship. Interestingly, after they'd won the Zurich, Lowry went, yeah, Rory absolutely carried me through the tournament, carried me through the last round. But then he's gone to the USPGA, the major, and put in a tied 6th himself. So they're showing that his game's in good fettle at the moment. He took last week off as well after the major exploit, so he should be nicely refreshed and ready to go. He played here in 2019, and he ended up in a tie for second. Of course, we mentioned he only found McIlroy too good on that day, so he's got good course form. Now, I mentioned driving distance isn't really key for this tournament, but staying on the short stuff, that will provide a better chance to attack the pins. And Larry leads in driving accuracy on the PGA Tour this season, so nobody more reliable to hit the fairways than him. As for approach play as well, he's 10th in strokes gained approach the green. Now, strangely, Larry's putting stats, they've been quite disappointing this season. You think of Larry, and it's all about how much of a good short game he has and how good he is around the greens, is the soft hands that he has and what he can do with the wedges. It's unusual that he's so far down in the putting stats as well. But a big positive for me with the flat stick is that it was working well at the PGA Championship in the major. He was second in strokes gained putting in that tournament. So hopefully for me, that form can continue this week. But I just think he's a really big price. I think with McIlroy being so short, it's given bigger prices to players in behind him who have considerable talent. And of course, Lowry, a major winner.
Good stuff. At a pony, 25-1 at Shane Lowry. And I mentioned last week as well, AK Bets, very quick out the traps. I was checking the prices out on Monday, one of the first firms up. So if you like to try and steal a march, perhaps AK Bets is the place for you to go for your golf punting. Right, James, that's one. Who else have you got for us?
Well, I've gone for Aaron Rai as the second selection at 40-1. He's yet to break his PGA Tour duck, but he has been getting closer. There have been a few occasions where he's been in contention and just fallen short slightly. He'll be making his course debut this week, but I've been impressed in his last 2 editions of the Canadian Open. He was 13th in 2022. He was 3rd last year. I think this Hamilton test should be right up his street. It's an accurate course, and Rai is accurate. I mentioned that Lowry was first in driving accuracy. Well, Rai is 10th, so he's certainly doing well off the tee. He's 5th in greens and regulation, and he's 9th in strokes gained approach. So he's finding those greens. He's making the most of them at times. Tee to green, he has been solid. Mentioned a bit earlier on putting, it has been a little bit cold for him, but it looked better, the flat stick, in the last round of the Charles Schwab. That was when he had his last outing. So there's the hope that he's found something on the greens going into this event. But certainly tee to green, that is where Rai really thrives. If he can start even putting about 25% better, then I think he's got a really good chance of winning his first title on the US circuit.
Good stuff. And there was one more?
One more, bigger price, and it's Patton Kizzire at 100-1. Now, he's actually been out of the winner's enclosure for a while now. 2018 Sony Open was the last time that he tasted success, but I have a feeling that could potentially change this week, or he can at least put himself into the mix for it. Now, he endured a miserable start to the year, 6 miscuts. Then he withdrew in a Corn Ferry Tour event, and you think, well, why on earth are you putting him up for selection for this one? But he's shown improvement in recent weeks. He was tied 10th on his last start. That was at the Myrtle Beach Classic. That followed back-to-back top 25 results as well. He had that at the Punta Cana Championship and the CJ Cup, Byron Nelson. So certainly there has been improvement from Kizzire in recent weeks. His approach play has been really solid as well. He was 6th in strokes gained approach and 3rd in greens and regulation on the PGA Tour this season. So you think, where's it kind of going wrong for him? Well, at the minute, nowhere's really going that wrong for him, because the putters also started to behave, especially at the Myrtle Beach Classic, his last outing. He was tied 10th in putts per green in regulation, and he was 24th in strokes gained putting. So whatever Kizzire has done over the last 2, 3, 4 weeks, he certainly managed to find something, whether he's tweaked the swing or just, got a bit of confidence with a certain type of shot. But he's on the up. He's getting some good results and confidence boosting ones. and at 135 to 1, I can't ignore that.
Good stuff. We don't have to have a lot on at that sort of price, James. So each way plays a plenty. Right, 2 events this week. Give us a roundup then and your overview view.
Yes, so the first event is the European Open. That's been played at Green Eagle, the Green Monster course. There's 3 selections: Richard Mansell, Bernd Wiesberger, and Joel Gerbach. And then the PGA Tour, it's off to the Canadian Open, played at Hamilton Golf and Country Club in Ontario. 3 selections for that one: Shane Lowry, Aaron Rai, and Patton Kizzire. I think they're both going to be fantastic tournaments. I think the European Open, when you look at the market, you do see that it's definitely not that firm favourite. Of course, you look at the Canadian Open and it's McIlroy at 4 to 1. You look at the European Tour event and there's big prices for the favourite, around 20 to 1. And you think, yeah, there's definitely value to be had. I think they're both going to be absolutely fantastic. I think out of the 2, just because of how long the Green Eagle course is, I think that's the one I'm really looking forward to watch. And again, it's a field that is of a certain quality, so you're probably going to see quite a few players struggle, which I mentioned at the top of the show. I like to see pros struggling and just struggle to get round courses. The Canadian Open, if McIlroy has a slightly off day, then there's going to be others that are coming into contention. Like I said, at 4 to 1 with 155 players against him, I'm happy to take him on.
Top man, James. And if you were to just have one wager this week, who's your strongest selection of the 6?
Richard Mansell. Definitely like Richard Mansell. The way his game's just going at the moment and trending in the right direction. He's feeling confident. Mentioned that he just qualified for the US Open as well, so he's already thinking about that. But yeah, I think if he can get his first DP World Tour win going then into the major in a couple of weeks' time, that'll give him a huge confidence boost. Great
stuff. Each way doubles are plenty there, I'm sure, as well. But of course, remember to gamble responsibly. James, thank you for your time and expertise as ever. Good stuff.
You're more than welcome. Not sure when I'll be back. Whenever Steve next has a holiday, I'll be jetting in to take over from him. But he's deserved his little breakaway.
Right, I would expect him some sort of presentation as well from you, James. Show us your workings out for that. Right,
I'll have a whiteboard behind me.
This has been the Sweet Spot, brought to you by the Racing Post in association with AK Bets. Myself and Steve will be back next week. Scandinavian Mixed Memorial Tournament and Lives Golf Houston Invitational. Once again, thank you to James. Do remember, of course, to like, comment and subscribe. If you backed Handy Blandy last week, let us know who you're playing this week as well. Do remember to gamble responsibly, enjoy the golf, and we'll see you next time.